Foul is Fair. Chapter 3, Painted Lady. After supper came chores, starting with the dishes. Then her mother retired to the living room to read the paper while Megan wandered out to get the mail. She supposed, at first, that it was her headache, but the world seemed brighter, more vibrant than usual as she made her way out of the house. Halfway to the mailbox, she found her eyes drawn to the Halloween decorations displayed up and down the block. Some were just lonely little cutouts taped to the insides of windows or the outsides of doors. More than a few houses had pumpkins, carved with varying degrees of artistic talent, laid out on their porches. A couple of the houses had gone overboard with orange lights or lawn ornaments. She didn't focus on any one setup, instead finding her mind wandering and trying to place when all of these had gone up. That train of thought led to her noting her own house, the sole one not decorated in the least for the holiday. She still had a few of her own decorations from past years, but it struck her as wrong, somehow, to just put them up without doing something new. Nothing was occurring to her, and, of course, she had some homework left. Maybe she could make something once she'd finished and checked the equations, though. She was having trouble remembering them. She wasn't quite sure how long she spent outside in the fading light of dusk, looking around at the displays, or the lack of display, shaking off the trail of thoughts and hoping her mother hadn't missed her yet, if she'd been too long. She made the rest of the trip to the mailbox. Sitting on the mailbox, canting its head at her quizzically, was a crow. They were common enough in the neighborhood, but none of them had ever let her approach quite so close before without flying off. This one, however, showed no signs of moving. As she took another step forward, a splash of color on the crow's back became more evident. Megan blinked a couple of times, sure she was seeing things. Despite the efforts to clear her head, she became certain that, yes, in fact, resting on the back of the crow's neck was a butterfly. Its wings were black, white, and orange, but had somehow been ripped at the edges to more jaggedly reveal the pink and brown underside. As she was simultaneously trying to remember the type of butterfly and thinking how sad it was that something had happened to its wings, she came around to the thought that she shouldn't be seeing what she was seeing. As that thought hit her, she also noted that the crow was looking at her like she was the strange one. A bird was silently evaluating her while wearing a painted lady. That was it. She knew them. They were so common throughout the world that they were also called cosmopolitan butterflies. Despite that, they didn't get up to Seattle very often, though she'd seen a few before. "You need to talk to Lonnie!" Megan blinked and looked around. She heard the wind whispering through the trees, which was odd, because the branches weren't blowing. "Over here! You need to talk to Lonnie!" Another glance around, and Megan shifted her attention back towards the crow. As she did, the light started to dim and the sun slipped below the horizon. "You need to talk to Lonnie!" repeated the little wisp of a woman sitting astride the crow's neck. She was delicate, even for her tiny size, and her skin was amber-colored. She wore a light dress, black with odd white zebra striping. The tattered orange-patterned wings were still there, though. "What happened to your wings?" Megan heard herself asking, out of all the questions that were fighting the headache to rise to the fore in her brain. "I'll tell you the story later," the tiny girl promised, "but I only have a few more seconds before you won't be able to hear me. We'll talk more later. Right now, you need to promise me that you'll talk to Lonnie." The crow cawed, and the tiny girl patted it on the head. "Yes, Count, you're right. Megan, you need to promise to meet with Lonnie somewhere private, and you need to listen. Really listen when she talks." "His name is Count?" Megan managed. It made more sense at the moment to ask than anything else occurring to her. Yes, I'll tell you that story too. And where babies come from, and where fairies come from, and why you can't tickle yourself later. Promise me." "Okay," Megan managed. She stared a few moments longer, as if expecting the crow or the butterfly to either disappear or make sense. "I promise," she added. The pair glanced at each other in satisfaction. A few moments later, the scene changed again. It was only slightly less surreal, seeing a butterfly on a crow's back again. Megan blinked once more, trying to form another coherent question. Before she could manage, the crow lifted off, bearing the butterfly away again. Megan continued trying to frame questions even after they were gone. She walked around a little more, staring around to make sure nothing else in the neighborhood had changed. She glanced back at her plain, undecorated off-white house and resolved, homework or no, to do something to decorate it this year. Probably after she talked to Lonnie. Megan returned to the house, made sure her mother was occupied, then headed to her room to call Lonnie. The phone picked up on the first ring. "Hello, Megan?" "Yes. Someone says I need to talk to you. You won't believe me if I tell you who. I'm not sure I believe me." "I bet I will. There was a crow involved, right?"